Thank you, Eric. And good to see everybody here. Thanks for coming today. It's been a couple of years. It's nice to see, and I really mean that, nice to see a lot of the familiar faces. Let's do a quick little presentation here on Adamera. Here's our forward-looking statement. If you don't get a chance to read it all here, it's on the last slide. Our project is in Washington State. It's just across the border. It's a 5.5-hour drive from Vancouver to the town of Republic. And Republic, that district, is well known for high grade. That is why we're there. That area has produced 8 million ounces of gold at an average grade of about 15 grams per ton. We're big believers in one of the best places to look for a mine is next to a mine. You'll see that theme in all of our projects. We either surround a mine or we're very close to a past producing mine. I'm also a big fan of infrastructure. Coming from a guy who spent a lot of his time working up in the high Arctic or in remote areas, I like infrastructure. And in Washington State, in this area around Republic, there is a mill that's currently on care and maintenance. It's owned by Kinross, but it's something that's in this district that may not have to be built again, and it's got capacity. All of our projects have a direct road access to that. So we're looking at something between 5 and 80 kilometers between our projects and that mill. Here's a plot of the gold chart over the last 10 years. You know, there was a broker who did say to me at one point, it takes 10 years sometimes to become an overnight success. And at the time, I wasn't too keen on that. I'm a little bit keener on it now. We started staking in this part of the world in 2013, something called Cook Mountain. And it was just as the gold price was really coming off. We struggled along from about 2014 to 2019, developing targets, developing a very low-cost way of working in-house, developing our targets. We did some drilling. We hit some high grade. We didn't get a lot of reaction from the market because the market really wasn't in favor of gold at the time. But what we did do is we developed targets and our projects, and we were able to attract a partner. Hochschild came in and optioned our Cook Mountain project. What that did for us is it freed us up. It allowed us to look at other projects. We picked up something called the Buckhorn. This is a piece of ground that surrounds the Buckhorn mine. It was held by Kinross. Kinross dropped a lot of ground. We picked it up, and immediately we went to Kinross and said, we'd like to acquire the data that you had on that. And it took us a while, but we finally closed a deal. It was in September of 2021 that we actually acquired this data. Now, if there's one reason why people should look at owning this stock, and that it would be right here. We've gone through that data. We've got $15 million worth of data, I would say, in my estimation, and we're now going on to drill those targets, subject to permitting. Let's take a quick look at Cook Mountain. This is where we've got our joint venture with Hochschild. They can earn a 60% interest by spending $8 million US. They're into the second year on that now. Their requirement was to spend $1 million. They're a little over that. They're about 1.6. There's a second phase to that earn-in, and that's they can earn an additional 15% by sole funding through to a completed feasibility. Now, what we did last year with them is we drilled 8 targets, so you can see on that map, and out of those 8 targets, 2 of them yielded high-grade gold results. So, first one, Lamefoot South, 4.7 grams per ton over about 2.7 meters. That included a 10-gram interval, almost a meter. And then a second zone called Oversight, where we intersected 6.5 grams per ton gold over 3 meters, and that included a 12.2 gram per ton zone over 1.5 meters. Now, this area here, Lamefoot South, keep an eye on that one. This is really interesting because the mineralization here was quite shallow, within 20 meters. The mineralization is about a little under a kilometer from Lamefoot, which is about a 1 million ounce deposit. And we've done a lot of work on that, and I won't show it all here, but do come to our booth. I strongly urge you to come to take a look at what we've got for this project. Let's move on to take a look at our Buckhorn project. This is, I would say, our flagship project. Again, here's a project that surrounds the Buckhorn, surrounds a mine, the Buckhorn mine. That was mined by Kinross up until 2017. They produced 1.3 million ounces of gold at an average grade of 12 to 13 grams per ton. So clearly high grade. This was originally discovered by Crown. They called it the Crown Jewel. Kinross made a lot of money off this deposit, and we would still call it a Crown Jewel if we were to find another one of these. And this is a single deposit found in a district. I think these are the kinds of things that you can expect to see in multiples. So that's our strategy for this area. I mentioned we bought data from Kinross. We got that in September of 2021. A lot of data. We were expecting something that would advance our project by about 2 or 3 years, maybe $5 million worth. What we ended up with is something that I would say clearly advances our project by 5 or 6 years. And we put a value on that of about $15 million. It's a lot of data, and it's really helpful. And we've done a lot of work leading up to getting that data. What we've got now is a very comprehensive data set that's never been used to target in this manner. So we're really quite excited by this. Here's something that we did get from that data set. It's a VTEM survey. Basically, it's an airborne survey that's using EM. Buckhorn is massive sulfides. It is a conductor. So VTEM sees the Buckhorn mine. What's interesting about this is that data was flown after the Buckhorn mine was into production, so it's never actually been used to target for deposits. Most of that drilling was done prior to the onset of the mine. When you put gold on top of that from soils, you can see some of those high-grade values in the soils. Now you've got a very powerful data set, very powerful. Here's something that we did. We're big believers in ground mag. In the past, they used airborne surveys for mag. We did a very detailed ground survey. Why mag? Because the Buckhorn mine is magnetic. It's got magnetite. So mag is a very useful targeting tool here. Again, with the soil, a very powerful exploration tool. One of the big surprises that we got when we bought this data set, or when we acquired it, we were expecting 28 to 30 drill holes, and what we ended up with is about 281 drill holes. That's a little over 50,000 meters of drilling. We put a value on that of about 12 million. And why is this such an important data set? Well, I'll just walk you through some of the results from that drilling. Here's, in these mauve colors, the dots. Those are drill holes that had 0.5 to 1 gram per ton gold. Here's 1 to 5 grams. And then 5 to 10. Now, we consider high grade in this district about 5 grams. And then over 10 grams. So these are some pretty nice values. A lot of this has not been followed up. And let's just look at and focus on the higher grades here. Here's something we call Keystone. This is one of our key projects. And this is something that we liked before we saw these results. But here now you're looking at a 45.2 gram per ton result in a drill hole. And very few holes to follow that up. So that's something that we will be pursuing quickly. Magnetic mine, you can see gold intercepts of 7.2 grams per ton. We have now got a very strong target based on modeled EM, soil geochemistry, and of course, some drilling that has not been followed up. And similar here, 17.2 grams per ton gold in a drill hole. It's a single drill hole, and it has not been followed up. So this is what we're going to be working on. Here is more of the same GM1. You'll also notice a lot of that drilling is quite close to the mine area. There's a lot of the project that hasn't had any drilling yet, and the different data sets that we've been able to put together, we've got 30 plus targets. We've applied for permits on those targets, and we're going to see, I'm pretty confident we'll see some of those permits coming in as early as next week. And stop by the booth. I'd love to talk to you about some of the details behind what we're trying to do on the permitting side. We're strongly focused on gold exploration, but we can't help ourselves but get excited by things like copper and silver. You can see the stock prices. It's come off a little bit in the last month. Excuse me. But in Washington State, we do keep an eye out for other things. And here's a good example. Here's something we call Talisman. It's been in our portfolio for some time. We started to look at it now that those metal prices are going up. Here's the Talisman. Again, we have a mine within the mix. But just to the southwest of that, we found a new zone that is undocumented mineralization. 2.8% copper, 4.6% copper. We've got grab samples with over 1,000 grams per ton silver. You can see you've got a corresponding magnetic feature with that. And this was a project where we went, it's a skarn. We wanted to see if there were any gold credits with that skarn. And there weren't, but we sure did enjoy some decent base metal values. Okay, so, and one last thing about that. It's just south of Christina Lake. As you cross the border into Canada, you can see you've got direct highway to trail. And what a nice thing. And there are certain companies that would probably like that if we can make any kind of discovery here. Okay, so just in closing, what do I think the big drivers are for 2022? Well, Buckhorn 2.0, getting these targets permitted and putting the drill holes on it. We've got a $15 million data set. We've done some really exciting targeting, and that's something that we'll start drilling on this year. Cook Mountain, follow-up on Lanefoot South. Again, stop by the booth. We can show you what we've done on that. Very exciting. Some of the copper-silver stuff. And I think a big thing for us, we've got a market cap of 12 to 13 million. There's really not much more that can push a market cap up than a good discovery. And I think we're getting to that point where we've got a lot of good targets and we can really give it a shot. Thank you very much.